Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our Let's Play series versus XTRG. This is a play-by-email series where we are playing sort of an old, 10-plus-year-old game that is a lot of fun and might be the most all-encompassing view of the Pacific War of any game ever made. But that's what we're playing today. It is February 25th, which means we're still in the early war period where Japan is really dominant throughout the Pacific. We've already lost New Caledonia, which is far further south than anything historically that Japan took in the war. The Japanese have also started to make inroads into the Dutch East Indies. They've taken Celebes, they've taken the island of Borneo almost entirely. There's a couple of bases on the east and west coast of Borneo that are still in our control, but nothing that's very firmly in our control. Port Moresby is currently, I don't know if we'd call it under siege yet. Well, I guess, yeah, it is under siege. He's brought a division up to Port Moresby, and we will probably lose that. It's just a matter of time. So we'll see. With that being said, we're in the recon phase. There wasn't a lot that happened sort of during the early morning submarine phase, if you will. We've got Japanese heavy cruisers have returned to Wenkao. They're bombarding the port there. We did order submarine mine laying to occur. Maybe the cruisers just haven't struck a mine and we just got a little bit unlucky. Usually with like 100+ mines in a hex, you've got a pretty good chance to get at least one mine strike on a task force, but so far, nothing. You can see these cruisers are bombarding the troops ashore there. 215 casualties reported against those troops. We're moving into the AM air operation phase, so nothing during the night or day naval combat phases, which sort of begs the question of what happened to our light... Oh, there are our light cruisers. They're not even close to Tulagi. They were supposed to make a sprint in toward Tulagi this last turn, but they only got about halfway there, apparently. Which is maybe a good thing in the song, but not a good thing in this case. So hopefully no Japanese air attack against those light cruisers, because they didn't even get close to where they were supposed to get to this turn. Meanwhile, a lot of recon, a lot of aircraft flying all over the Pacific. We'll go ahead and fast forward here a little bit. Japanese bombers continue to going after Sorbet on the island of Java, but he's not sending a whole lot of them. Only 6 Nels this time, 31 Oscars. This seems to be some sort of deliberate ploy where he's only sending a handful of bombers in toward the objective so that a larger number of fighters will overwhelm our fleet without risking a whole lot of bombers on his end. Smart, because he's obviously, or maybe he just doesn't have a lot of bombers in the area, but I'm gonna bet he does. Anyway, so you can see there, all the bombers made it through. Last time we shot down like 3 of them. This time, no Nels were shot down. We did lose 1 B-339D Buffalo for the Dutch Air Force. He lost 1 Oscar. I will definitely take a 1-to-1 trade with 1 damaged, and who knows, maybe there's some ops losses there. But we'll have to see. Or we'll have to hope, because fog of war means we may not know what he lost. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. All right, so large bombing raid against our troops here in central China. As a reminder, we have this large force, about 250,000 men, retreating west and north to try and get out of this encirclement right now. You can see he's sending everything in the kitchen sink up against him. 44 Sonya dive bombers, 18 Ki-21C Sallies, and 7 Ki-30 Anns. A lot of flak coming up from our troops there. You can see they damaged 4 enemy aircraft. They lost 177 men, including 1 squad destroyed, 1 non-combatant squad destroyed, and a couple disabled there. A large Japanese raid here at Singapore as well. Some 13 Lilies, 24 Sallies, and 4 Anns. A little bit more heavy on the 2-engine bomber parade. 7 aircraft damage, 6 casualties inflicted on the ground. Not a lot of damage done there as his aircraft continue to pound Singapore, which has not yet fallen, and he hasn't really even launched a major attack against Singapore yet. There was the initial shock attack when he crossed the river that we shot him up pretty good. I think he lost like 10,000 casualties in that shock attack. But so far, it's just been largely bombardment attacks at Singapore. which I'm fine with because our supplies are probably good there to last over a month, especially with the refining and supply capabilities there. 8K? Okay, that's what he lost in the attack on Singapore. In any event, it was a pretty bloody battle. I think we only lost like 100 men or something very small on our end. Bunch more bombers coming in, a bit more damage, no real damage done to the defenders there. Further attacks on our troops to the west of Changsha here in central China. A couple of dive bombers, 20 more casualties. Not a lot to say there. A lot of fragmented air raids coming in here. Sally knocked out by flak right away. Good job, boys. Keep up the good shooting. Another small Sally raid of 6 Sallys coming in here. Another Sally destroyed by flak over Singapore. You didn't miss much, Sean. We're just getting started here. 7 bombers coming in over Bataan, doing really no damage. Further recon and airstrikes here at Bataan. Our own bombers are coming in here in just a little bit north, so we've got the attack in the south to the west of Changsha. Also north of Changsha, another force of ours, about 80,000 men, is cut off here as well. Not as directly cut off. They do have a direct road to Chongqing, but they're being confronted by a large number of Japanese forces here. We've got 21 bombers coming in here, a couple of Japanese interceptors. Looks like the bulk of our bombers made it through. We lost 3 damaged, 1 destroyed. Inflicted 18 casualties on the Japanese formation there. A couple more Japanese aircraft in cap there, but they didn't do anything on the way in, at least. They do attack on the way out. No aircraft lost there. 20 more casualties inflicted. Another 7 Chinese bombers. These are A-29A Hudsons, American twin-engined attack aircraft. And they drop their payloads but don't really accomplish anything. 250-pound bombs. Some SB-3s coming in unescorted again, and the Japanese intercept, but they don't have a large enough cap here, so 6 more casualties inflicted on the Japanese there. All really minimal damage. Meanwhile, as we move to Port Moresby, where our bombers are attempting to do some damage against the Japanese division, there we've got 5 Hudsons coming in to no avail, no damage inflicted. Now we've got 16 Australian Weirway bombers and 10 American A-24 Banshees with very bad crews. These are SBD Dauntlesses, but in the Army's crew. And, yeah, no damage done there either. That's kind of frustrating. I would have thought 26 dive bombers would have done something. Meanwhile, we've got 9 B-17E Flying Fortresses coming in, and they inflict just 6 casualties on the Japanese there. Not much damage done there. Yeah, the Dauntlesses have very bad pilots. I guess there is that. Alright, so that's the AM phase of air operations. We're into the PM phase of air operations. Swiveling around the map here, a lot of recon going on. The PM phase tends to have a lot less in the way of actual combat. You can see 3 L-12, two 12s are attacking a convoy or shipping of some kind. You've got 3 Oscars, which are obviously flying long-range cap over them because the Oscar doesn't operate off carriers. So it's probably flying out of either Balikpapan or Mascar here as a long-range cap. The bombers are being intercepted by the Oscars, but it looks like at least 2 of them will make it through. They are trying to attack an APD. One of the bombers is destroyed by flak. Not a good day for that guy. Literally 2 planes coming in on an APD, 1 knocked out by flak, 1 shot down by fighters. No bombs landed hits. They had 15-kilogram bombs in the first place, so that's a pretty trashy... oh my god, could you imagine being sent into combat with a 15-kilogram bomb against shipping? Oof. 2/3 of that small little raid is destroyed to no damage. It does look like there's a light Japanese landing force heading north. Can't pronounce the name of that city. Bandarjasmin, where they're headed toward, I'm assuming. And if that's the case, that's a good airfield. It's got a level 3 airfield, so that's definitely a threat to Java more directly once they take it. 1 15-kilogram bomb. Like, what are you trying to do? Imagine this. You've got a 2-engine bomber, and you're like, nope. That's all we can fit. A single 15-kilogram bomb. That's all, guys. All right, so our S-boat here at Baker Island is being depth charged by Japanese destroyers here. Took some damage, I think. Yep, 3 hits on it, although not heavy damage. 2 Japanese light cruisers and 3 destroyers at Baker Island. I don't remember there being anything there previously. That's a pretty good-sized surface force to be attacking our sub there. Meanwhile, Japanese RO-34 is being attacked by our destroyers at Vavu, although we can't drop any depth charges. The Sturgeon is attacking a cargo ship near Eniwetok. Curse you, Mark 14. Curse you. Hit but no explosion. Then launch more torpedoes, bro. Come on. All you did was drop 2 torpedoes. You got a 50% hit rate there. You couldn't have fired more? All right. 1 shell hit on an AP off the coast of Kuching by a 6-inch gun at 7,000 yards. Good shooting, boys. All right, so we're into the land combat phase now. We'll see what comes up here. Japanese, oh boy. Japanese deliberate attack here at Singapore. We've got a pretty strong force here at Singapore. They've got the 21st Division. They've got an independent engineer regiment, the 48th Division, the Imperial Guards Division, 5th Division, 18th Division, 2 more engineer regiments, 2 more infantry regiments, a 4th engineer regiment over here. Is that a 5th or a 4th infantry regiment? A lot of heavy artillery, but really the key is the 48th Infantry, 5th, 18th Imperial Guards divisions, and the 21st. So, deliberate attack here at Singapore. That's probably going to do a fair bit of damage here. Most of the troops we have here have relatively low experience. We don't have a ton of combat value either. I think we've got like 1,100 total. Just these three Japanese divisions, without even including the Imperial Guards, just the 5th, 18th, and 48th, all have about the total number of AV as all of our troops. Now, I think we have level 4 fortifications here. We were never able to get them back up to level 5, unfortunately, but we still have level 4 fortifications in Singapore. That should help, but a deliberate attack does take things a little bit slower, a little bit less in the way of casualties, and we'll have to see how that plays out. I'll go ahead and try and fast forward here through the combat, and we'll see what we have coming out of it here. You can see the numbers on a lot of our units are dropping, which means their combat value is dropping. The number on some of his units is dropping as well, which is a good sign. It means the AV is getting used up. You can see he did reduce fortifications from level 4 to level 3, so that's very bad, because that does mean that our adjusted defense will be considerably less next time. So our actual defense was 1152. Adjusted off level 4 forts, it was 3699. Now, presumably a level 3 fortification, we're still going to get some bonus, but assuming this doesn't drop too much, let's say it's like 1,000, then I would guess our adjusted defense would be closer to like 2,800 next turn. It would still be around 1 to 2, maybe drop down to 1 to 1 odds, but it's unlikely, I think, that he would defeat us in the next assault. But yeah, so you can see here he got 1 to 2 assault odds, which is good. It means we shouldn't lose too heavy. You can see here he lost almost 6,000 casualties. We lost just 2,000. The force reduction is their fort reduction is the biggest hit to us. He lost 13 infantry squads destroyed. We lost 29 destroyed. So in terms of victory points, that actually benefits him. He lost 3 non-combatants. We lost 36. We only lost 1 engineer squad, however, and he lost 58, probably because of just the sheer number of engineer units that he has involved in the battle, but that's a good number of engineers destroyed. He also lost 57 vehicles, 4 destroyed. We lost 26, 2 destroyed. But the big thing that might hold him off a little bit longer is the 384 squads disabled compared to just 149 on the defense. That should help a little bit. And then 112 engineer squads disabled, to just 26 on our end. So casualties favor us, destroyed units favor him, excluding engineers, but we'll see. He did reduce the fortifications by 1. He also destroyed 1 of our units here, yeah, so that's what we have to say here. a battle, an indecisive battle, but it's a battle that puts him one step closer to victory at Singapore, but not victory yet, and I would imagine it's unlikely he will continue the assault next turn, given the amount of disabled units. So I think we probably have a minimum of 2 turns left living in Singapore, but I would guess we're probably at about a week or less until the city of Singapore falls, would be my assumption. We'll see, though. Japanese deliberate attack at Wangkao. They have not attacked here recently. You can see the 100th Chinese Corps, which gave him a very bloody nose like a month ago, is considerably reduced in strength by about 100 assault value. So a lot of Japanese offensives occurring this turn. This one on southwestern China, the Stalingrad of China, as some folks have referred to it in our games. Japanese did reduce the fortifications. They got a 1-to-1 assault value here. 600 adjusted assault versus 412 adjusted defense. You can see the attackers and defenders lost roughly the same number of casualties, but that's a little bit deceiving. 33 squads destroyed on our end, only 2 on the Japanese end. He did lose 56 disabled. We only lost 44 disabled, but all told, that's a victory that puts him one closer to victory on Wangkao, and also a victory that may allow him to continue that attack into next turn if he would like. That's a pretty important coastal city. That's also where we put those mines in place. So that's, it's not a disaster. We didn't lose the base yet, but things are not going great. We held, but that doesn't mean a whole lot right now. Japanese shock attack to the east of Shikikang, or however you pronounce the name of that city. 2nd Japanese raiding regiment with 9 assault values crossing the river against our mostly anti-aircraft, anti-tank formation. He had to shock attack because he was crossing the river. Defending forces outnumbered him 5-to-1. However, our actual assault level is pretty low, only 12 to 40. We inflicted 32 casualties on him. He inflicted 152 on us, mostly in the engineer and non-combatant squad section because we only have a handful of combatants. He lost 5 infantry squads disabled. I'm not sure what the purpose of him crossing the river is, though. Also, it looks like he has 1 unit behind, so we'll have to take a look at that. Bombardment attack at Kuching. It doesn't really do anything. He has landed some troops here at Kuching. We've got a couple of base forces and battalions that have all sort of been pushed into Kuching as our last pocket in northern Borneo. Deliberate attack against the 21st Chinese Corps here near Nanchang with the 23rd. These are actually Chinese troops, the RGCs. 1 to 3 Japanese assault value here, although no casualties by either side. Still, the attack failed in central China there. Japanese deliberate attack here in the Dutch East Indies on Soemba. 12-to-1, I guess. Penryn Island expands fortifications to level 3, so that's good. And that probably is it for this turn. So it's just moving through the sort of moving of oil and production phases, and then we're going to get bumped out to the main menu, and we'll have to load the save. Overall, a pretty eventful turn. The Battle of Singapore is resumed with an attack on the city of Singapore, a bloody attack, an indecisive attack, but one that again does get him closer to victory. Wangkao is a little bit less favorable for us. Another victory or battle there that gets him closer to victory, and that's the situation right now. I'll have to check on the minefield there, Charcoal. The problem is if he attacks again next turn, he might win there, given he did reduce the fortifications, and if that's the case, he won't even need to send the cruisers in there. Although, who knows, if we have a few mines that he doesn't think are there, maybe he'll send a merchant ship or something in that might strike a mine and do a little bit of damage. Meanwhile, a lot of our fighter groups that we had railed from the East Coast are now arriving on the West Coast, so I have to take a look at all that. Let's take first things first. Let's take a look at the minefield here. So, defensive mines 93. So we do have mines in place. Our submarines laid their mines. They're on their way back to base. That's a lot of subs for a long journey to not really do much. Interestingly enough, we could send them to Singapore. It's got a large enough fort there that they could load their torpedoes, or a large enough port there that subs can load torpedoes and replenish. The thing is, because there were mine layers, they only have 1 torpedo each in their and their subs. This guy's going to Bataan because he's low on fuel, although Dolphin looks like he must have refueled at Wen Kao, actually, so we must have refueled all those subs at Wen Kao. Those guys are going to Bataan. Now, Wen Kao doesn't have a large enough port there to replenish their ammunition at a level 3 port, but they all did replenish their fuel, so I guess that's a little bit less. Maybe it's like 1,000 fuel that's not going to go to Japan, so I guess that's good. So there's that. Meanwhile, again, he sent these troops across the river here at just to the east of Chikikang. These troops here should already be falling back. Their supply situation isn't great. They are falling back. So, geez, that second Chinese corps shot up. But you can see here they have moved 14 miles. They are moving in combat formation, so they're moving a little bit more slowly. But it also means if he bombs them, he won't know they're moving. Although they have no supplies in the base, so maybe we should consider moving them more quickly. If we had moved in on march formation, then they would have been almost ready, almost out of the hex last turn. If they move at the current pace, it's going to be 3 more turns till they get out of there, which might be a little bit much. I suppose by moving into this hex, what he may be trying to do is cut the supply coming down from Chungking to these troops on the front. Certainly could be a valid strategy. Meanwhile, we have gotten a bunch more of our troops just a hex away from Chungking, just on the other side of the river here. Not a huge amount of assault strength, of 1,200, so depending on what he still has there, we've got to cross the river, and we've got to, move into rough terrain, which is going to be a bit of a tough ask. But we're 26 miles on the way to Chikikang. It is a major roadway, so I think that means, is it 14 miles during the day? So if I change these guys out of move formation, then they'll get there in 2 turns. However, if I move them immediately and they stay in move form, then they may cross the river in column formation, which would just be asking to get shot apart. So I'm not sure what the right strategy is there. Also, the bulk of our army is still 1 hex further back, about 4,000 assault value. They are all moving, and they should be out of this hex next turn, or the bulk of them should be out of this hex next turn. A bunch of them are already at 40 miles. Some of them are at 28. So we are really kind of strung out on this roadway. He's got 10... Holy crap, he's got 1,000 armored vehicles, but no troops? That doesn't seem right, unless he just sent all his tanks this way. But I don't know that that'll accomplish a whole lot for him. Yeesh. Meanwhile, our troops to the west of Chungking, which don't have to shock attack across the river, 26 miles and 15 miles respectively. So if we keep them in move formation, they may be adjacent here next turn. So we're kind of closing in on his formation. But again, there is this risk of these guys here, this 1,200 assault value, these 43,000 secondary troops, 30,000 primary troops, that we also have to think of how we're gonna do here. I'd like this formation to move north of the river, where there's no fort here, and then maybe bring some additional reinforcements down here, because if we look at this terrain here, this is a ×3 defensive terrain. So even though there's no fortifications there, this is actually a better defensive spot than the hex just to the north, which is rough, which is only level 2. The next one up further is level 3, but once you get up here, he's got a back road around the rear of Chungking, so we could use that to flank the position. We could fall back further west, but we're going to have to defend these 2 crossings of the river. So I'd rather retake this base and defend forward on both of these crossings. 45th Chinese Corps is on its way, I guess. It's not really worth anything, but they're on their way. Tyler, thanks for the follow. Tris X Tan, thanks for the follow as well. I don't know if they're not all tanks. They're AFVs, which are armed vehicles, basically. Meanwhile, I'm curious how fast these guys are at 23 miles. They don't have a lot of assault value, but I want to see if I can get in behind and take Henyang from him. He's only got 1 unit here. 24 units here. The bulk of his troops are still at Shaoyang. We could get into Henyan maybe and threaten his supply line. He's got supplies coming up north from Chongqing. So there's sort of a crossroads here, so he can draw from either Sigatan or Henyang, but meanwhile, the troops at Wangkao, these guys are down to 200. Actually, they didn't lose much in the way of assault value. Still 264. Supply is a concern. They have basically no supply left. They're at 1,000 out of a necessary required of 1,500, so they're at about 2/3 supply. So another attack there will be bad for the defense. We're building 80 supply a turn, so there's just no way we're going to get supply back into a good spot there. Maybe Sean, but I think the game accounts all AFVs as just any vehicle as an AFV, I think, in the game. So I'll have to think about what I'm going to do with the troops crossing the river at Chikikang. We'll think about that. Meanwhile, more supply continues to unload at Rangoon. Now, we did change some of the supply requirements along the railways to the northeast. So you can see here they did suck a good deal of supply out of Rangoon. It was at like 50,000 last turn. You can see some of it, anyway, I think got pulled into some of these different bases, which had been at much lower levels last turn. I think we pulled some forward to Pegu as well. That's weird that Prom would have that much. I didn't even order 3,000 supplies to Prom. Meanwhile, you can see here there's a lot of supply that's still... Actually, these guys are no longer unloading, so they'll go ahead and return to Cape Town. Undock. Meanwhile, these guys will go ahead and dock and begin the unloading process of some 23... Well, they've already started the unloading process, but another 23,000 supplies coming on these AKs. 500 less on these three. They just have to drop their supply bit. Actually, let's do this. Let's transfer one of these ships out. Get him out of here sooner since he's already unloaded. So these guys are all headed out to Cape Town. These two task forces here. These guys have 500 left. Then they'll be headed out. It's another 10,000 tons off the docks there. We've got a further 14,000 coming in next turn on some light transports here. About 14,000 tons of shipping coming in, with only 14,000 tons of supplies coming in on them. Another 21,000 on some lighter ships over here coming in. So that's about 35,000 between these two task forces that should easily be able to dock there. 20,000 and 14,000 tons of shipping, 35,000 tons of supply coming in, or just units of supply. So 35,000 plus the 24,000 already there. So that's another 59,000 supply coming into this region. So that's good. Meanwhile, 100,000 supplies heading north just to sort of sit offshore. Those guys are already headed back to Cape Town. And then we've got an additional 74,000 up here just sitting off doing their thing. And we've got 67,000 also just sitting offshore here doing their thing. I'm trying not to give him too big of a target for his air units there, but I also think the supply runs into Rangoon will probably not last us much longer. I don't think there's any way we're going to get all of these ships unloaded at Rangoon, because I think he's going to, as soon as Singapore falls, he's going to shift a lot of that air north. He may keep it south in the interest of further reducing the Java formations here to more quickly advance down there. But just in the interest of expediency, I'm going to try and pull 20 more thousand supply out of this task force here. The smaller transports, the ones that are worth less, not worthless, but worth less, and start moving them south. They're going to take a couple of days to get there anyway, So my thought is that by the time they arrive, this larger task force here may already be unloaded and free up some dock space. Rangoon is a decent-sized port. It's not huge. It's decent, though. It's got a level 4 port. Capability of up to 6, but he's going to take it eventually. So I don't want to just build it up for him. So I've left it at level 4. We are working on the fortifications there. But you can see here it can dock 48,000/24,000. 24,000 means like at maximum efficiency, cranes, everything else like that. I think 48,000 is like in the roadstead as well. It's at 34 right now. Okay. Troops in Singapore, we lost about 200 assault value here. We were at 1150 before. We're down to 950 now. So we lost 200 assault value plus the loss of the fortification. One of the units was destroyed. I'm not sure which one. The 9th and 11th Indian Divisions look like they're still in reasonably good shape. Morale's not great, but I don't think it was ever great for any of those troops that are cut off. Mexicans, Rangoon's upriver, so very, very big ships can't dock there, but 90% of my cargo ships are small enough to fit. It's just things like the Queen Elizabeth or battleships that can't get up the river, for the most part. Okay. So it kind of starts the fort building over. We were at like 50% on the way to level 5, but the fact that the fort dropped from 4 to 3, it forces us to restart the enhancements to the fortifications. I guess we'll still keep it building. Just because I've got 21,000 supply there still, so, 21,000 supply is there, 52,000 fuel. The 52,000 fuel is getting converted into supply, so I don't think supply is an issue in Singapore, or it won't be before the end of this all. The 1st Malaya Battalion may be what we lost. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. I probably could. I mean, I could do that easily enough, right? Ground. Where is it? Reinforcement withdrawal. Ground units destroyed. Is there a last turn option? Guess we just do the kill date. Yep, 1st Malaya Battalion destroyed there. Can't rebuild that unit as it's a restricted unit. We could rebuild some of these Dutch units here. A couple of them are decent, but I don't know that it would make a lot of sense. I don't even know where they would rebuild in. Like the Mascar Battalion, 39 assault value, wouldn't be a terrible unit to rebuild. I also don't know if they have any like reinforcement pools where they would pull from. So we probably won't do that. Anyway. So there's that. Trying to think what else we saw last turn. Kuching, we don't have a lot of supply here. Most of our units are already out of supply, or at least low on supply. We do have 84 assault value there, though. I don't know if he's ready to quite take the base. What's the fortification level? Level 2? Meanwhile, our air attack moved in on one of these two formations. It looks like this APD formation has some light cruisers with it as well. They're moving northwest, so presumably they're moving toward Bandar Jasmine, which is a level 3 airfield. He'll need to bring in, some supply to get it up and running because the supply there is already pretty limited. We have a garrison here, but it's not great. 33 assault value, so I'm assuming he'll overwhelm that in relatively quickly. Surabaya, the bombers have done no damage so far to the airfield, but that's not the point. They're going after our fighters. We only have 9 ready fighters. Jesus. 21 aircraft, 9 ready. Hey, JT, thanks for the follow. How many did I lose? The air attack didn't look that bad. Saying we lost 10 units last turn. Apparently our air-to-air losses were worse than we thought. We lost 4 B339Ds, 2 of them air-to-air combat, 2 of them as ops losses. We lost 2 CW-21B Demons, both ops losses. He must have damaged a lot of those aircraft without actually shooting them down. So that brings us down to 21 ready aircraft, or 21 aircraft, 9 ready. I can bring 2 more Buffaloes in to Surabaya. To buff up one of the squadrons there because their aircraft are ready from Palembang. So that brings us up to 11 ready aircraft, but honestly, I'm debating just standing this whole formation down and hoping he doesn't bomb us too hard. Give the guys a day to rest, gamble that he doesn't bomb us, and maybe we can get some of those aircraft back up. 3 of these Buffaloes will be ready next turn. 3 more here will be ready next turn. So, like, and 3 more here will be ready. So we would have, or maybe it's just the 6, but we would have 6 more fighters next turn. I don't know about the Demons. They're just gone for the most part. We could upgrade them to Hurricane 2B tropes, but that feels like a waste of resources right now. I want to keep those with the British Air Wings. Although 59 experience, these guys aren't a bad squadron. Mexicans, not really. I mean, I could move them by rail, but then they'd all be disabled and we'd lose a day. I've already dispersed most of the aircraft in Java, or a big chunk of the aircraft, like the attack aircraft in Java, but not so much the fighters. Also, the other problem is I don't really have other air bases with substantial aviation support. Maybe Batavia. I could pull them back to Batavia, but I'll probably do that eventually anyway. Interesting. I wonder if you have a certain, like, I could withdraw these guys and they'd come back in 60 days. I think they'd come back off map in 60 days too. But they still have 5 fighters, so I don't want to do that yet. So, anyway. Meanwhile, our carriers are still sort of off here to the south, or sort of northwest of Australia. We've got the 3 Americans, the Enterprise, Saratoga, and Lexington in one task force, the British Indomitable, and the American Yorktown in another. 5 carriers. They're kind of heading out this way, up toward Christmas Island. I'm not sure I want to waste the limited number of fighters and good aircraft that I have in a defense of Java against land-based aircraft. That feels a little bit futile, but if I can get a couple of strikes in on some task forces, that would be nice. The only problem is now that he's bombing Surabaya, we know that he's got Nels and maybe Bettys, but we know he definitely has Nels in the region, which, if they're armed with torpedoes, can strike like out almost past my ability to even reach Java. Now, we could, in theory, move the carriers up toward Batavia and defend Batavia, but I don't think he's going to head toward Batavia until he's got other airstrips elsewhere that will help extend his reach well west of Christmas Island. For the moment, I think I'm pretty safe out here way to the west. We did see 1 or 2 ships heading southwest toward the northwest Australian coast. I'm not sure where they are. I'm not sure if that was some sort of stab because he may have seen torpedo bombers of ours off the carrier going after subs on the western coast of Australia based off our own combat report. I did form a surface task force of 3 American light cruisers or actually, is it 2 American light cruisers? Yeah, 2 American light cruisers and a British light cruiser, as well as some destroyers. They're heading north toward Port Hedland, just to see what might be up there. I probably don't want to send them all the way to Hedland because of enemy air would cover them. But we'll probably move them up here and just see what's up there, and maybe we can hit him. Whatever he's sending that way. Meanwhile, a lot of shipping continuing to come down to Perth, as well as some tankers here. A little bit nervous. We saw that submarine activity off the North Australian coast. You can see here we've got... Oh, so this is the Australian division I had talked about. So the other thing that I did want to do is make sure that these carriers were at least screening the 6th Australian division as it comes south. So you can see here the 6th Australian, as well as 2 RAF squadrons, so with some Hurricanes, are on their way into Australia. And so I wanted to make sure that we were covering them as they head south. Obviously, there's always the risk that some subs could get in there, so we've got a very heavy anti-submarine task force here. Go ahead and replenish them from the... they'll replenish from these guys. So both units are going to spend some ops points here, but get these guys up to full fuel, and then they'll continue following that task force. But yeah, so we've got 3 British KVs and 1 DE. The DE is a Bittern class, 6 anti-submarine value. That's a good anti-submarine ship. And then we've got 3 level 4 anti-submarine vessels, Flower class corvettes, escorting these guys south into Perth, which is where we're going to bring them. And obviously we want to make sure they stay out of range of enemy air or enemy shipping, so they're a little bit further west, and the carriers will screen their advance into Australia. Charcoal, probably not. I think going for Ambon would be pretty suicidal. We know the Japanese have been bombarding Ambon with their battleships. I don't think we've seen them in a couple of turns. But we know he's got bombers based out of Mascar, probably, and we know he's got bombers based out of Kopang. That'd be running the gauntlet of at least 2 enemy bases with Nels, probably with a fair amount of fighter support, because we saw at least 30 Oscars coming over Surabaya. I don't like the odds of one of my carriers not getting hit. So we'll send this task force south, with the carriers screening their movements, and also potentially helping to screen... Don't we have some other tankers coming in this way? Up here, another 17,000 fuel with those tankers. 32,000 fuel with those tankers up there. So yeah, I mean, we're bringing in a lot of fuel into Australia. Yeah. So that's the situation west of Australia. In terms of Port Moresby, he didn't bombard Port Moresby last turn, did he? Huh. That's interesting. Well, he didn't bombard Port Moresby last turn, so there's that. He does have some shipping north here on Ley, but I don't think that is a supply route south to Moresby. So he's probably supplying through Buna. We haven't seen anything come through Buna. We are unloading an additional Indian brigade, the 44th, at Port Moresby. You can see here most of the brigade already got unloaded. There's still 1 3-inch mortar and some support and motorized support units that are unloading at Moresby. So the bulk of that Indian unit got there. That brings our assault value up from 250 up to 303. The Indian brigade also adds slightly better infantry units. These are Indian Infantry Section 42. So much higher quality infantry squads than Australian militia. The experience level still is something that leaves something to be desired. Level 30 experience is pretty crappy. But yeah. So there's that. We also are closing in on Horn Island to bring the 5th Australian Coastal Artillery Regiment ashore there to strengthen these guys by, get them up to closer to a 50 assault value, which isn't great, but the coastal gun should help against any landing there. We've got a mine layer task force that is on its way up to Moresby as well. You can see he's got 10 out of 10 detection there despite moderate rain, 10 out of 10. He's got a lot of recon in this area. He hasn't been doing a lot of attacking here. The Louisville here is undetected, apparently. We could do a single cruiser bombardment with a Northampton class. Just see what happens. Meanwhile, our other heavy cruisers are still here to the south. They've slipped out of detection here, by the way. So there's these 5 heavy cruisers, Pensacola, New Orleans, Minneapolis, Australia, and Canberra, as well as 2 light cruisers and 3 destroyers here in the south. They're moving their way north slowly, but as quickly as they can without like just burning ungodly amounts of fuel. Enemy shipping appears to be at Espírito Santo. There's apparently a heavy cruiser task force south of Vanu Lava near Espírito Santo. We have our light cruiser task force here near Roselle Island. We were trying to make a sprint for Tulagi, and it said we'd get there, but we didn't. So there's that. They weren't harmed, however, either, although there's a level 8 out of 8 detection, which is not great. Says they should get here at the end of the PM phase, so before air operations even start. So they could make a sprint in toward Tulagi in the nighttime, arriving either at the very end of the nighttime phase, which I would prefer they not against Japanese destroyers, or the beginning of the day phase. There is still a Japanese tanker here, apparently, according to our sub, which makes me really want to continue the drive east to try and knock out a Japanese tanker. But that would mean that, assuming we get, and with these detection levels, partially cloudy, it claims the forecast is for rain. Again, we didn't get rain last turn, apparently. Erg. I don't know. Those are really good. Those are very high detection values. Hey, coffee filter. I'll have to think about that. I just don't want to lose 2 good British destroyers just for the sake of it. I think I'm going to switch these guys over to bombardment. I'm not sure what a single heavy cruiser would really do in a bombardment, but I'd be curious to see. There's no fuel there. Where are they based out of? Brisbane. Can they flank in and out? They've got the fuel to flank. They might arrive during the AM phase there. There's no detection there. My only concern is if he ends up getting any air action there. But honestly, I'd probably be better off if he sank the heavy cruiser than all of these other task forces. It's about the same value. And we get a boatload of heavy cruisers. We don't get quite as much in the way of... we don't get quite as much in the way of troop transports at this time. The destroyer we had fall back. The Pope we had fall back. We could order this guy to bombardment as well. I don't think he'd get there this turn. Or would have fuel to get there and back, right? He would not have enough fuel to get back, although only just barely. So it would only be... Could we just do a direct routing? Would that save fuel? No, not really. Still the same amount of fuel? Huh. Would this save this guy sometime so that he'd have more... Not sure it even matters. Doesn't change anything. So there's that. Meanwhile, we had the sub at Baker Island getting depth charged pretty bad. Where is that? No, that guy's at Canton. Where's Baker? Oh, up here. The S-18 took 3 hits in here near Baker Island. 7 sis, only 1 float, so actually not that bad. I kind of want to keep it around just to see what the enemy has. It says these guys are moving west. Why don't we send the Argonaut here as well? We've already got a sub at Canton, the S-23. No indication of Japanese activity there. Quite a lot of Japanese activity at Baker Island. 2 task forces, 1 of 4 ships, 1 of 2 ships. Could just be ASW, but I guess I have the question of... Or no, didn't we see a CL in the combat result? So why does he have 2 light cruisers and 2 destroyers as far forward as Baker Island, which doesn't even have a port? Baker Island has air capacity. Any supplies that come into Baker Island have to be unloaded over the beach. There is no port at Baker Island. So why does he have 2 light cruisers and 2 destroyers staging out of an island with no port facilities? And it can't be ASW work because we just showed up there this turn. So what's he doing here? Is he using the anchorage for something? Does he have like a replenishment task force? Is that what these guys are? But then why would you do that for just 2 CLs and 2 DDs? I'm not sure. Tarawa's broken? What do you mean by that, Jack Tank? Tarawa has a level 1 port, level 2 air. We never hit Tarawa, so I don't think it's broken. Even Canton would make more sense. It's a level 2 port. Granted, it's a little bit further forward, but yeah. Meanwhile, we did fly some B-17s out towards Suva, as you remember. So we've got 19 B-17s. 18 of them are ready currently at Suva. We could fly them west to Australia to reinforce the guys at Charterstown. We've got 11 B-17s there. 10 of them are ready. The guy's already hitting Japanese troops at Moresby. The other potentially intriguing option is bombing Espiritu Santo, which seems to be a major Japanese base. I don't know if we'd do airfield attack or what we would do at Espiritu Santo. It's how many hexes away? It's 17 hexes, so it's extended radius, which means the damage that they're going to do is worse. Are not as effective. So bombing Espiritu Santo from Suva is not going to be very effective because instead of carrying 8 500-pound bombs, we're basically a medium bomber now, only 4 500-pound bombs. 17, normal radius is 15, so that's the extended radius. Yeah, I wonder if he has anything in port. That's an interesting question. I'd be more interested in crushing his air power there, though. If only because we're trying to sneak cruisers in potentially to the north, and Espiritu Santo is probably the best positioned large airfield to intercept the Tulagi raid. Maybe Rabaul. I don't know. They're about the same. Interesting thing is, though, with these B-17s, the older, crappier B-17s, it's within their normal radius. So these guys would carry 8 500-pound bombs and these guys would carry 8 500-pound bombs because for this group, it's within normal radius. So depending on whether you're the B-17D or E, influences whether you're normal or extended radius. So the 2 B-17D units could hit at normal, and the B-17D would not. So we could do that. The early B-17s have better range. Experience levels on these guys are pretty crappy. 34, 52, 44. The 52s are decent. I don't know how much damage these guys will do. We probably also want to bring the B-17s over from Christmas Island as well. I don't think these guys could get to Australia even if they wanted, but they can get to Suva. So we can transfer these guys to Suva. Transfer these guys to Suva. I probably want to bring more B-17s into Australia, though, as well. I mean, we do want to try, in any event, to hurt the Japanese division at Moresby. But I don't know that 20 or 30 B-17s is really going to stop them from falling. Meanwhile, let's get some patrol aircraft. Let's flood the patrol aircraft into Pearl Harbor so these guys can reach. I think. Can't they? Seriously? Oh, it's a restricted unit. That's why. Some of those guys are on restricted headquarters. Pearl Harbor, where are you now? Since I've pulled a lot of B-17s out of the Central Pacific, I want to make sure that I replace those that I pulled out with PBY Catalinas, whose actual job is patrol. All right, now these guys are PBY 4s, which apparently don't have radars. Do the PBY 5s have radars? They do have radars. Okay, so the PBY 5s are much better. We could actually upgrade these guys to 5As, couldn't we? What are these flying? The 4? We can upgrade them now. Wait, not to that. The 5A. Ooh. Okay. So I guess we'll upgrade them now. All right, so once these guys are done getting their aircraft back in order, then we can transfer them to Pearl Harbor. These B-26s, meanwhile, just arrived via rail. They can't quite reach Pearl over the air, which is unfortunate. Their range is just a little bit too short. But all these guys can be flooded into the Pacific. Some 34 B-26 Marauders. I did something weird, probably. I brought a task force that had 37,000 fuel on the way to Australia, brought them back to San Francisco, so then I could load these guys up with airplanes. So they got to unload their fuel first. But once they're done unloading their fuel, then we can go ahead and load up a bunch of these squadrons that I railed into San Francisco. So I know we moved in some fighter squadrons as well. These guys are all going to be sort of boxed up in crates aircraft, so they're not ready to fly or do anything, but they don't have the range to fly anything anywhere. And once those task forces get the fuel off the cargo ships, then I can put some of these air units on cargo ships and get them shifted out to the Pacific theater. Same is true to a lesser degree in San Diego. And then some of their experience levels are still a little bit low, but I can train from wherever, really. Okay. Are Kingfishers good for anything? Like, I've got these guys sitting here doing ASW, but their range is so crappy. Like, ugh. Apparently they can upgrade to Dauntlesses, though. Interesting. I don't want to burn all my carrier dive bombers, but... yeah, but with those ranges, the ship's already on you before you even spot it. Our political points are up to 622, so that's good. The Kingfishers, I think they're all float planes. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, something about the 44th Division arriving. It's in Seattle, but it's a restricted division, so what do I care? Meanwhile, I think we had some other ground units somewhere around here. The 40th Division that we broke up into 3 sections here. Almost enough political points to get them into the fight. Not quite enough. But we can start getting elements of that division into the fight before too long. Yeah, so let's just take a look. Aircraft losses last turn, 10 Allied, 9 Japanese. 3 Oscars, 2 Nels. That's really all it's worth mentioning there. We lost 3 pilots KIA. None of our aces. We have quite a few aces now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 aces. That's quite a few. Ship sunk last turn. Anything? Nothing. Ship availability. 2 days. So nothing tomorrow. And then we've got 1 cargo ship in 2 days. In 3 days, we've got an ammunition. I think that's an ammunition ship. AS? No, submarine tender. Sorry. And then we've also got a bunch of subs. We also will get another cargo ship, the John C. Fremont. 3 more days after that of nothing, followed up by a bunch of destroyers, some cargo ships and tenders. And then in 10 days, 12 days, we've got some tankers. And in 13 days, we've got the Hornet. So in 2 weeks, we've got another carrier coming online, the USS Hornet. She'll come in the U.S. East Coast. So it'll still probably be about 27 days or so until she's actually into combat. So it's kind of exciting to be like, yay, we get a carrier in 13 days, but it's on the East Coast. So not so much, because it's not really going to be there. Meanwhile, how long till... Okay, so we get this tanker here off map. 11 days, 23 days, 5 days, 14 days, 6 days. Okay. 5 AKs. I guess we can load these guys up now. All right, load supplies. Then you're going to set destination for another off-map section at Cape Town. And you're going to head there at flank speed. But it's okay, because it's all off-map, so none of that counts. Actually, no. You're not loading supplies. I forgot. You're loading fuel. Meanwhile, Cape Town, we take a look here. Ship's under repair. 3 more days on the Queen Elizabeth. She was at 5 a couple turns ago. 9 more on the Canopus. 21 on the Gertrude. 71 on the Repulse. And 298 on the Prince of Wales. She is under 300 days for repair. Man, we saved like 400 victory points by not having her sunk. So that's good for us. 400 between her and the Repulse. So there's that. Other ships at port here. We've got a bunch of cargo ships. What's the fuel situation here? I don't want to strip it of all its fuel. It's got 146,000 fuel. We've also got some more task forces coming in with more fuel. 2 weeks, 3 days. These guys are not carrying a ton, though. They're carrying like 8,000 fuel in 3 days. And 1 day we're bringing in like another 3,500. So about 11,000's coming in the next 3 days. 10 days for some other ones. I think with the fuel that's coming on, we can probably load another task force up here, a cargo task force. We'll say... Actually, let's do this first. Let's form a new task force. Let's do cargo. No refuel. Just because I don't want to take ops points to refuel if we don't need to. We'll go with more or less previously fueled. They're all 12 knotters. Cargo capacity, I'll guess I'll be willing to take up to 20,000 fuel. So we'll take cargo ships up to 41,000 capacity because they only can carry half their capacity as fuel. Load these guys up with fuel. And we'll send them to Perth. They will have to replenish when they get there. They're all already replenished. So they're going to carry 3,900 fuel. They're going to replenish, which is going to be, they're going to carry 1,850 fuel. They're going to replenish when they get there, so they're going to really effectively be carrying about 1,300 fuel per ship, which is not very efficient, but it is still going to be like 14,000 fuel or 15,000 additional fuel being brought in, which frankly, when we're operating the carriers out this way, that's really what we need. Yeah, 700 victory point swing when you consider the fact that we didn't lose the Repulse or the Prince of Wales, and we sank the Haruna. So that's even a better situation there. Okay, so these guys, can they get to Sabang? Not quite. We'll have to refuel here. So these guys are all trying to get to Port Blair. There is no fuel in Port Blair for them. Although these first motor launchers got fuel. Okay, so those guys got fuel, so did these guys. Man, these guys are just running a charmed, not a charmed life, but they are sure running the, let's run from every base along the coast and just barely escape. All right, these guys are going to get to Port Blair, but they're going to run out of fuel, so they're probably going to have to ditch into the actual port. They might be able to pull fuel from the Abadiel, the mine-laying task force here that's going to be moving into Port Blair before too long. Like a G-Man, by the way, thanks for the bits a bit ago, and Neil Blatch, thanks for the follow. These guys are replenished. Where can they get to? Can they get to anywhere else? Can they go direct to Rangoon? Nope. They get to Blair, though. That's okay. But again, there's no fuel for them at Blair. I don't particularly want to put any fuel into Blair. Blair is a level 2 port, though. Maybe we'll put a very small, single ship task force into Blair just to bring fuel to them. This guy can bring 500 fuel. That's probably the extent of what I would want to bring. Load fuel. Go to Blair. Okay, so we'll do that. Meanwhile, the 7th Aussie Division is on its way to Karachi. I think what I'll do is I'll let the 7th unload at Karachi, and then we'll decide whether we want them to reinforce India, because there's frankly not a lot of strength in India, or we'll make the decision to send them to Australia to reinforce the 6th there. In my view, so far what we're seeing is that it seems very clear he's making a play for Australia as opposed to India. And Australia is pretty weak as well. There are more troops in Australia. I don't know if there's more troops. There's more freely flowing troops without garrison requirements in Australia. But there's also, it's a lot easier to take, and the troops there are a lot more glass jaw-y. So we'll have to see. Meanwhile, we're almost full up on these guys. 32,000 fuel. That'll be headed to Karachi. These guys will arrive back at Abadan in 5 days. Loading up aircraft cargo here with these guys. They're going to Karachi as well, bringing the Air Force into India a little bit stronger. Our Air Forces, the interesting thing is, while the Indian forces seem far weaker in terms of troops available outside of Burma, the Australian Air Force feels far weaker than what we have in India. So it's kind of an interesting situation there. One of our task forces is bringing fuel to these guys. They'll arrive in 6 days, 28,000 to Aden, which is a little bit low in fuel. Yeah. Anyway, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. I don't have a lot else to say. Really, I just unloaded supplies here, and now they're already down? Or no, I just unloaded at Diego Garcia. I do is low. All right. Let's form a cargo task force, a small one. 3,500 tons. Adu has 1 port. That should be good. Load supplies. Bring that to Adu. All right. We're unloading supplies at Diego Garcia. He's got 400 more unloading, I think mostly over the beach. They might be unloading there directly. Are they docked? It's an AKL. It's small enough. Yeah, it's docked. 1,000 tons. Base force there. Come on, Diego Garcia should be able to have larger than a level 3 airfield. They base B-20 or B-52s out of there, don't they? And B-2s. Probably should expand fortifications too. Troops at Blair. All right. Escort the important convoys, Sean. I do my best. They're off-map movements. There's no need, but generally speaking, yes. I mean, there's a limited escort for these Aussies. All right, these guys already unloaded. We'll pull them back to Abadan. Snap Freeze 97, thank you for the follow. So we'll pull these guys back to Karachi. Meanwhile, there's 34,000 fuel unloading between these two task forces at Karachi. So as we have shifted some fuel south to Colombo and then to Australia by extension, but we are continuing to pump supply into India, which can then make its own, or sorry, fuel into India, which can then make its own supply. But anyway. The aircraft convoy, which one? The one coming to Karachi? Probably not. These guys? Probably not, because they're going direct to Karachi, which is like a 3 hex off the map. The aircraft convoys from the... It's not going to be one big convoy, first of all, but the aircraft convoys coming off the U.S. West Coast will definitely be escorted. With what? I don't know yet. I need more shipping to the American West Coast. I've got some shipping at Pearl. It's just a question of whether I want to send these guys all the way that way to help them or not. I need more destroyers. I need more destroyers. Well, I've got this light cruiser task force down here. Let's disband them there. We do have some destroyers coming back as well. We also have some destroyers that are hanging out at Los Angeles. We're trying to get these 2 tankers, their system damage down to 0 before we start a new task force to Australia, but we've got 2 destroyers down there. Maybe a light cruiser and a couple destroyers for aircraft convoys. We'll see. I think I have some other shipping around here as well. But, yeah. Do I have some... I thought I had some... Well, the AM would be a good ship to have at least. Not a lot of endurance, but she should be down there to help, I think. So maybe we'll pull some of these coastal ships that can be used for ASW out. Some of these Canadian ships will help us escort these convoys as well. But Erie class PGs in Alaska? Where in Alaska? Anchorage, maybe? I don't think so. Gunboat with a 6-inch gun? I'm not sure. I don't see any. We have 2 patrol craft, by the way, also in Los Angeles. They have depth charges. They might be worthwhile. But we'll see. I think that's gonna... I don't really understand like what the YPs are for. What it's like a small coastal ship, I think, but I don't... They're like barges. They've got some ASW capabilities, but their range is so short. I mean, like, I don't think you would send them out to sea. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for today, guys. We've been going for about an hour and a half, so we'll probably cut this one off here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will finish the turn-up off screen and either send it to XTRG Thursday or Friday so that he can stream either Thursday or Friday. Probably Friday is my guess is when his next one will be up, and then we'd probably be back Saturday or Sunday, depending on how quickly he turns it around. With that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video and the stream. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.